Welcome to Learning to Glow, a show about wellness, skin health, and self-development. I'm your host, Jess. I'm a mom, entrepreneur, and skincare expert. I'm so excited to share tips on how to achieve healthy skin and bring amazing guests in the field of health, fitness, aging gracefully, and personal growth. Let's explore all different ways we can take care of ourselves as women, both inside and out, to truly shine. So let's get glowing. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here with me today. I have such a treat for you. We have Kim Rogers, who is the founder of RogersHood, a company that is helping so many people who are suffering with chronic illness with herbs and education and parasites. So the main topic of our episode today is what to do about parasites, worms, other toxins that we have in our bodies that we need to get rid of to feel better. And this affects so many people that I was not aware of how this problem affects so many of us. I learned so much in this episode. I just actually started using the kit that Kim shares with us. It's almost been a month of using it, but when we started recording, I had been taking it for about a week. So now that I have been, taking these herbs, I cannot believe how much better I've been feeling. And it's just perfect timing to share this episode with you guys. In the episode, we also touch on mold poisoning, heavy metals, and so much more. I know people who are dealing with mold. If you are, make sure to stay until the end of the episode. This is a longer episode than I normally have, but Kim had so many things to share with us, and I wanted to make sure that we covered everything, and it was so good. So let me know what you think of this one. Definitely check her out. Check out her company. I'll link all of her information in the show notes. And she was nice enough to give us a discount code for her products. I really recommend by starting with the Parasite kit, which I will put in the show notes as well, just because that's just kind of a foundation that we should all start with. And you'll see why when you listen to the episode. But check out my show notes. There's the link and the discount code there. And thank you to Kim for sharing all of her knowledge with us. I'm so grateful that she was able to come on. I actually want her to come back because there's more that we need to cover. And I hope you guys enjoy this one. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our show today. We have Kim Rogers. Welcome to Learning to Glow.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm so excited too. We're going to have a great conversation today. And actually, I don't think we've ever talked about this topic, which is pretty fun to, have you, the expert, talk about. We're going to talk about parasites and worms. And you are a founder of a company that helps treat this problem. But before we get into everything that you do, if you could just tell us a little bit about you, and then we'll go from there.
Well, my name is Kim Rogers, and I'm known as the Worm Queen. And I do have a little bit of a raspy voice. I'm getting over a little bit of a cold, so if I have to mute or cough, I'll make sure I mute it. But so I'm really honored to be called the Worm Queen. I know it's such a funny little title, but the amount of information about worms that I give out, I had to be crowned. I could not be known as the worm lady. That's not fun. I literally market the Worm Queen because, it's really I got a crown, I love it. It's been really fun over the last 5 years. It'll be 5 years next month that I went viral on TikTok. So in 2021, I went viral over a parasite cleanse. It was not mine. Mine is called Parasite, the Parasite Cleanse, and it's by my company, RogersHood. And so when I went viral, it was such a crazy experience. I had a small account and I was teaching people about mushrooms, and we were building a log home. And so I would show those parts of my life, and I had 10,000 followers. And I did this cleanse because I come from Western medicine. I've been in it since 2004. I hold 2 healthcare degrees. I ran 25 healthcare colleges. I've worked in neurology, endocrinology, the emergency room. I've done radiography. I've authored medical books for big publishing companies like Cengage and McGraw-Hill. But my health was declining because I had stage 4 endometriosis and 13 surgeries and a hysterectomy when I was 29 years old. And in 2019, my husband and I packed up our lives and we sold everything and we went out to a piece of recreational property that we had purchased for us to retire on and eventually build a log home. And I realized how bad my health really was getting. And so we just made the decision that I was going to say goodbye. And I wasn't quite ready yet, but I knew that I had reached my limits with surgeries, and doctors didn't really know. I had a surgical team and they didn't really know what to do with me anymore. They said in 2019, you can't have any more surgeries, Kim. We've created a scar tissue disease in your body now
Mm.
that's like impending upon your organs. And there was so many things that we were just kind of left on our own, a little abandoned, to figure it out. And so I looked at my husband and I said, I don't want to leave you with a bunch of bills and a mortgage, and I don't know what's going to happen to me. And so I think it's best that we just really go out there and focus on exactly how to heal me. Also, say goodbye if that's what it ends up being. And it sounds so dramatic, but when you are really in the thick of it, and now knowing I have mold poisoning and I had parasites and I have chronic late stages of Lyme that I've had for 30 years undiagnosed, it all makes sense now. But when I was in it and I had zero answers, it really was heart wrenching for us to really kind of navigate this and what this looks like. And my husband's amazing. So I really didn't want to burden him, and I think that that's a big thing with chronically ill people is that we feel burdened, like we're a burden.
Mm.
And so I really was really ready for whatever the universe was going to serve me at the time. So we went about a year and a half, really focused. I learned about mushrooms and how great they are. And I went and really learned about how to put endometriosis in remission using mushrooms and herbs. And so coming from Western medicine, I fully understand the human body and I understand frequencies and I understand why they give you certain medications for certain, labels. And so I really took that and I ran with it. Like I had nothing else going on. I literally exited out of my life. I had no contact with my family. We had a fight. And so I'd been 4 years, no contact with them. So there really wasn't much left for me other than I got to focus on this because this is it. If that's what's going to happen, at least I fought until the end. So I started to get a little better when I was taking lion's mane and turkey tail. And I stopped pooping though for about a month, and that was very uncomfortable. And my doctors really were like, just take some psyllium husk. And I'm like, so I haven't pooped in almost a month, and you're telling me just to go take some psyllium husk? Like something's going on here. I should be feeling so much better. I've started changing my diet. What's really going on with me? So I was scrolling on TikTok, which when I scroll with a purpose because I want information and I want to learn. And this gal came across my feed and she said, I can't believe I almost unalived myself over worms. And it just stopped me in my tracks. And I'm like, what do you mean? What do you mean? I thought a few years ago I might have had worms. I had some abnormal things in some abnormal looking tumors in my breast that went away. I had an abnormal area down in my nether regions that they wanted to biopsy. And when they went to biopsy, it was gone. I had itchy butt. I had seen things that were really strange that were coming out my skin. And so I thought, what do I have to lose? $30? I'm going to go try it. Within 3 days, I saw roundworm, flukes, and pinworms in the toilet. And this pain that I had on my right side, that was an indication it was time for me to have surgery, was gone. And I've never had it back, by the way. I've never had that back. And so I grabbed my phone and I immediately made a video. And I said, I've been in Western medicine for over 18 years and I've never dewormed myself until now. And I accidentally put it out of order. And the next thing I said was, and carcasses were everywhere. And that just stopped everybody in their tracks. It just was like, wait, carcasses. And then I said, they came out my skin and my urine. And that just freaks people out because they don't understand that when you're making your body inhospitable to worms and parasites, they come out however they can if you're not in a controlled like binders. Like that's really what made the Parafite kit was all of these things that happened to me, and I had no knowledge of what I was supposed to be doing. So I just randomly did some black walnut whole and some wormwood and some garlic and clove, and like that's great. It unalives them, but it also creates other conflict. So I regress back. Okay. So I started going very viral. 10.6 million people watched the video. I had around 10,000 followers. Overnight, I had 200,000.
Wow.
And I just have done this every day since July 18th of 2021. I have never taken a day off from talking about it. I post videos every day because it's such an important topic. I found out I had Cryptosporidium parvium, which is parvo, which was shutting my organs down in conjunction with mold poisoning that I've had my entire life. My mom had mold poisoning, passed it to me. I was born into mold. And I got bit by a tick when I was 12, which now I know 2 years ago, I was diagnosed after 30 years of misdiagnosis with chronic Lyme. So all of these things were what was shutting my body down. And that one parasite cleanse and that video just changed my whole life. When I went viral, my husband was like, I don't know what we're going to do. And I'm like, well, I'm just going to keep making videos and we're just going to see what happens.
Oh my God. So I have so many questions about this. So back when you said it was 2018, when you were like, okay, I need to do something, that we haven't done before. You've done all of these surgeries. I can't believe. I'm wondering, like, one of my first questions is, how is the endometriosis related to all of these issues of having the worm and the Lyme? I mean, is that related because you're having all of these surgeries, but then you're doing this cleanse for 3 days and you're feeling so much better? So like, what's the correlation there?
Well, I believe in my body that the endometriosis label was just a catch-all for the mold, the parasites, the Lyme, the heavy metals. I had mercury poisoning. I mean, there's so many labels, but it's like a catch-all, right? And so I've been endometriosis free since 2019, where I used to have surgeries every 2 years since I was 20.
Oh my
And
God.
I've not had a surgery since 2019, really getting my health under control. And what's wild is I've always used water filters. So I've always been very careful about that. I've always eaten no antibiotics in my chicken. Like I've always been very conscientious because endometriosis, when you take estrogen, it really raises and creates more conflict in your body. I never ate out of plastic. So all the things everyone's doing now, I really never did either once I found out I had endo. But from before that, it just compiled. And then the Lyme, the parasites, and the mold, they all live in a biofilm. So you can take all of the antibiotics you want, all of the herbs you want. But if you're not bringing in a biofilm buster, which we'll talk about that even more, you're really just leaving things on the table that you need to like clean out. And then your body starts to get taxed so heavily, it starts creating all of these different types of chronic illnesses and autoimmunes. And then you go to doctors who don't believe in that and they gaslight you. And then you're sitting there like, okay, well, I think I have worms. I'm telling my doctor I think I have worms 5 years before. I know for a fact that's the conversation because I'm one of those people that screenshot everything. And I screenshotted a whole bunch of stuff about worms. I always had itchy butt during the full moon. My dog had worms. We lived in an area that Cryptosporidium parvium is a huge issue because of standing water in the rainforest. Like it all just started to make sense to me that I was creating an ecosystem inside of my body that no one really knew was going on. And the only label they could give me and the only thing they could do was surgery after surgery, right? Because they didn't really have that, you should be eating this way, you should be doing this, this is what you shouldn't do. And so it ended up being that, I figured it out on my own with some help from mushrooms because I would do some journeys here and there when I was in the rainforest. But it ended up that, all of my symptoms for endo went away. And so I just kind of put two and two together that a lot of my problems had to do with parasites, mold, and Lyme.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I have chronic illness too. And I think when you are going through all of these things and you're having all these symptoms, it's really, and you're going to a Western medicine doctor, that's not the first thing they think of. They're not going to offer you, oh, maybe you have worms or, so
Mhm.
you started with the mushrooms and you were feeling better, but
Mhm.
then you said that there was a month where you could not go to the bathroom.
Mhm.
Why? Like, what is causing that? Like, what was holding that function back? Like, what part of this is like keeping you from going to the bathroom?
When you have worms, it can cause you to have IBS, IBD, constipation. It's considered like a die-off or a symptom of a parasite. And so what they do is you're so inflamed because they don't
Mm.
want to leave, right? So that's you exiting them out, but they don't want to exit. They want to stay in your body and live rent free. And you don't really know about them, so you haven't started making your body inhospitable. So their way of protecting themselves is to cause inflammation inside of your body. And with that inflammation comes constipation.
Mm.
And so the psyllium husk might have helped, honestly, it might have, but there was the way it was approached to me like, oh, well, this is what try this. And it's like, I need more than that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're
So
like a month. That's serious. Like if you
yeah,
can't go to the bath, that's a very serious thing. So I want to get more into like the worms and the parasites, but
yeah.
before that, how did you start figuring all of this out? And like you're having all of these chronic issues and and you're feeling so terrible. How did you start to realize like, did you finally find a doctor who was able to show you this, or you just kind of had to do your own research?
So I do have a really great doctor. I want to emphasize that. She's amazing, Dr. Juliana Giles. She's really been there since the beginning,
Okay.
but I figured it out. She came on with me a couple of months after I had gone viral and really figured it out. And so it was a lot of mushrooms. I don't know if anyone has done little journeys and really assisted, but I would sit and I would meditate on my property while my husband would build. And I really asked the universe, please tell me and help me like figure this out. I'm not really ready for this to end just yet. I have a lot more in me. This can't be it,
Mm.
And so I think once I started to get my brain fog a little more under control at that time, it really helped me kind of clear the way and use my tools. The tools that I was classically trained in. I would sit down with patients and I would go through head to toe examinations of what it could be. And things would just come to me. Like, I remember when I worked in the ER and someone came in and said, I've had a tummy ache for over 10 days. The first thing we'd ask them is, do you have well water? So I
Mm.
started to really like use my training on myself, which is very difficult to do, by the way. We make the worst patients. So
Yeah, I've heard that.
like we really make the worst patients, man. So I just had to go through my training and just really what was being told to me and just having an understanding of the human body just helped me a lot. Like we're all very the same. Like we have 206 bones in our body, most of us, and like we're all very much the same. So if I could remove myself like personally and make myself be like a patient, and that's what I did, I would sit with myself and I would go through the checklist. Like, okay, well, I haven't pooped. Okay, why? What are the reasons? Well, what is the root cause of IBD, IBC? What's the root cause of it? What I got to figure that out. And I was never a root cause type of medical specialist. I was more along the lines of here's a medication, here's your diagnosis. Like we're classically trained like that.
Yeah, that's just the way it is. Like
Mhm.
that's the normal way, not the optimal way, you know.
Mhm.
So I did read, and I don't know if I was listening to one of your podcasts or something that I read, something about Epstein-Barr.
Yep.
Did you have that? Do you have that? Or is that something that, tell us a little bit about that if you don't mind, because I feel like that is a tricky one to
Mhm.
solve.
Yes. So I'm trying to think of how it's a kind of a long, complicated thing. So when I was really ill in my 20s, I had two spinal tests because I was being tested for MS. Obviously, now knowing I had Lyme,
Mm.
and Lyme is a cousin to MS because they're all spirochetes, right? They're all this thread like bacteria that I believe, because parasite definition is anything that feeds off a host, it's kind of a mirror of a parasite. It burrows deep down. It creates a lot of health issues. So they were testing me for MS. And so they tested my spinal fluid for Epstein-Barr and a bunch of HSVs, and everything came back negative. So that's like the defining test back then of
Mhm.
no, you don't have EBV. Okay, great. I don't have mono, never had it. My sister had it. My mom had it. I never had it. Great, cool. Moving on. So fast forward to 2021 when I parasite cleansed and I dropped EBV out of a worm. That's exactly what I know happened because I tested negative for so many years of Epstein-Barr in the number one place that you test for EBV in your spinal fluid. And so it led me to start researching, well, how is that possible? Right. And that's when I learned about biofilm and that worms can hold 6 to 8 times their weight in viruses, bacteria, spores, heavy metals, other worms, other parasites. They literally live in a house that you have to burn their house down, expose them, and start to slowly remove each of them systematically. And including in that home are these viruses. So I went a year with parasite cleansing with Parify, created my business, RogersHood, make the best parasite cleanse kit out there because we include a binder, and all my experience went into these 3 tinctures so that no one had to go through a bad cleanse like I did. And I was at the end of it, and it was about a year in, and I was like, gosh, I don't feel really great. I paused it for a moment and I was like, gosh, I don't feel super great. My eyes started to swell shut. I lost half my hair. I was like, God, what's going on with me? Like I was freaked out, and I'm viral, and I'm started the business, and we're like, our build's half done. And so I got tested for mold, found out we had mold in our travel trailer, and also got tested for Epstein-Barr, and my levels were off the charts. And I thought, that is impossible. That's impossible because EBV comes along like for a while now. You know what I mean? So maybe I didn't have it when the spinal fluid was being tested, but that's to me now, knowing what I know, that's impossible. I did probably have EBV then too because I had mold, but it was living and housed inside of something that was undetectable.
Oh, oh
Yep.
my God. Okay. So is doing a cleanse like this, because you're saying the worms are holding all these viruses in this
Yep.
biofilm, which is so interesting and disgusting.
It is.
It's so gross. But if you're getting rid of these worms,
Mm-hmm.
your levels can go down with EBV then. Is that true?
Yes.
Okay.
And that is because I used usnea. So when I found all of that out, I was just shook, and my whole world was turned upside down. Everything I thought I knew, everything I learned. And when I say I thought I knew everything about medicine like that, I was a valedictorian in both of my degrees, like above 20,000 people. So
Wow.
I really love to learn. And I was shook. I was like, what? Oh my God. Okay. Okay. Now I'm going in. Now I'm going in. I want to know what herbs that will help with this. I want to know exactly what I need to do. I want to know what a biofilm breaker, like what is all of this. And we actually ended up changing. We have an OG kit, Parify, but we added metal flush in because of all the knowledge that I was learning from going viral from my community. And then that led me to go and look. So when you cleanse with Parify, the reason why we have the steps we have and the herbs we use is because of all of this. Because usnea is Mother Nature's doxycycline, and it also helps curve those viruses inside of your body. So when you're burning their house down, systematically, I realized what frequency each one of the things that could be inside of the parasite's home, right? Or the mold or the Lyme's home. It's the same concept. They're all in a biofilm. And when you burn it down, you got to go in like usnea. It's going in and it's helping candida. It's going in and helping EBV because it's a virus. Some bacteria are being washed out, right? So you look at it as like this systematic issue that you have. And so that's why like people that have Epstein-Barr do so good on the Parafy kit, because I help bring those symptoms down, which allows your nervous system and your lymphatic system to catch up. And it also allows your immune system to really like see what's going on. Because sometimes these evaders come in with a mirror in front of your immune system and then they hide behind it and do all those stealthy things. And your immune system has no idea what's going on because it's a mirror. So literally they're using a mirror as armor. And so the immune system is like, I'm good. And then all of a sudden it goes wonky and the immune system has no idea what's going on. So I use herbs that help remove that armor and allow your body to go in and systematically remove these issues using the herbs. Herbs are a frequency. And when you realize what frequency is with what ailment, like an opera singer singing and shattering the glass with her voice or his voice, it's because they know the frequency of that glass and it breaks. It's the same concept with herbs. So when I realized all of these things that I had, I'm not the only one that has them. I'm not the only issue here. This is a chronic illness root cause, one of them. And it's like, once you start digging in, you can't stop. Okay, so you get rid of the worms. What's next? Right. And that's kind of how my thought process was. And a lot of the downloads came with doing mushrooms, even just opening up, removing some of that calcification on my pineal gland, allowing my soul to reconnect with my body and seeing what my purpose was. I mean, that really moved me forward when I went viral, because I knew right then, I'm talking like instant. When I saw that 1 million people in like 1 hour looked at my video, I was like, this is why I'm here. Like, this is what made me survive these last 2 years of my life. That I was ill longer than that, but like the last 2 years were the hardest. This is it. And yeah, I mean, it was crazy how much knowledge would be downloaded or I would get from my community. I mean, social media at that time, it's so a little bit different now 5 years later, but social media at that time, we had just gotten out of 2020. People were really giving their knowledge in my comments. And then I have the capabilities of researching that, you know?
Yeah, I think it's so important too when you know, do something and share something that resonates so hard with the community, with people, because they're like, and as a person who suffered with chronic illness, we're desperate for answers. And like,
Mhm.
we've tried so many things. And it's like, if you hear something that works for somebody that you haven't tried or you've never heard of, it's going to be so powerful to get that information. I feel like there's a lot of things that are obviously connected. Like,
Mhm.
there's a lot of problems that you have. And it's funny because when sometimes with the person who's dealing with a lot of issues, they do have a laundry list of, I have this issue. I have I mean, that's how I feel sometimes. And I have this, and I have this.
Yep.
And then to kind of realize, okay, there's certain things that we can do as a foundation to kind of treat everything. And there's so many things that you mentioned, like, and by the way, how's your Epstein-Barr now? And do you test that now? Of course, you're probably not going to go in with spinal fluid tests, but like
Right.
blood work or
Yep,
how?
I do blood work once a year. I'm in
Okay.
remission. I've been in remission since 23. Well, 23, end of 23.
Okay.
So, one of the things I learned about EBV was a feeling of lost, and I was very lost. At that in 23, I had had 7 years of no contact with my family, and
Hmm.
so I rekindled. I showed up at their front door here in the Nevada area and I said, this is ridiculous on Christmas Eve. And so, those type of things have healed me spiritually and on a soul level. And that feeling of lost went away. I had a friend, Tabitha, who owns a beautiful business, beautifully balanced. She's a castor oil business. And she said to me one day, she goes, Kim, you're never going to heal when you have that lost feeling. And that really like resonated with me. And I thought, I am very lost, even with all of the viralness and starting a business and really refocusing. I mean, I bankrupted me and my husband because of how sick I was. So we really were in a bad space. Then we found out we had mold poisoning in our travel trailer. So we became homeless. We had to go live in a hotel and then an Airbnb and then we moved into our log home with no heat and no shower. We had to shower in another trailer. So, like, I really was in a lost space. And without really focusing on that on a soul level and a spiritual level, I probably would still be having some symptoms. But the moment I heard that I repeated it to myself on a daily basis. What can I do today to not feel lost? Like
Oh,
genuinely ground me,
yeah.
right? Because that's what it is. I need to be grounded. I needed to know, even though I'd done all this work for so many years, I still had to like reevaluate and become very self aware. We removed us out of the woods and we moved to downtown Seattle. Loved it. It was a dream of mine to live in an apartment downtown Seattle. I don't know why, but I got to live that dream for a few years. It was so fun. But it really changed who I was because I was able to not feel so lost in an environment that I almost died in,
Mhm.
right? And really away from everybody because I was very isolated for years. I mean, a lot of people work as a 2020, but I wasn't in the 2020. I was in my own 2020. And so when I was able to remove myself and look at it in a different perspective, they call it like mold avoidance and then different perspective. And so when I was able to do that, I looked back and I thought, yeah, I'm never going to heal from all these viruses officially if I don't do something about this one really big conflict, which is my family.
Mm.
And that really changed everything. I also found out I had Lyme 2 days after I rekindled with my family. So a lot of pieces came together in those couple of days. And so that really helped me on like a physical sense, on a physical sense with all of the herbs has helped, but really it was just getting it together.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, I love that. I'm so glad you're in remission. And now,
Mhm.
I mean, I feel like we can I want to talk about, let's get down to the parasites and the
Oh
worms,
yeah.
because I feel like it's a good place to start. It sounds like
Mhm.
if for anyone, let's talk about that. The first question,
Yes,
who is this for? And tell us, who has parasites and worms? Like
everyone.
everyone. Oh God.
Everyone. So the CDC says 60 million people, but that 60 million, by the way, that number's been around for at least 10 years.
Okay.
Okay. Our food supply has gotten worse in those 10 years. Salmon specifically, I just read that squid's the number one seafood that actually has parasites in it. I thought it was salmon. Salmon runs into the second. And then there's another fish. So seafood is a big contributing factor. And as we're not cooking our food right, or we have contaminated food with the heavy metals in it, it's making us ill. No matter if you're freezing it, that's kind of a myth, in my opinion. You can't freeze them to death. You can
Mhm.
only cook them to death. And they are in a lot of our food if you eat raw, if you eat produce. So the CDC said 60 million people decades ago. And our tests are not accurate here in this country. My stool actually went to Mexico. The same stool went to Mexico as it did LabCorp. LabCorp came back negative, and Mexico's test came back positive for crypto and roundworm. Same
Mm.
stool, literally scooped one in, put it to LabCorp, scooped another, put it to parasites.org, and one tested positive, the other one tested negative, and it was stamped, this is not in lieu of a parasitic infection. So my number actually isn't even part of that 60 million because you have to test through LabCorp request, which then has an agreement with CDC, which they've never changed that number. I believe 95% of us have parasites in Western medicine countries, which include Australia, the United Kingdom, Canada, and the United States. Other countries actually deworm their citizens. They are allowed to go to a pharmacy and spend $7 to $15 and get a anti-parasitic synthetic pill and take that a couple of times a year. In Mexico, in some places, it's mandated because they know this is so easy to catch and they know their water is trash. We had worms in our water on our property while we were building our log home. So not
Mm.
only did we have mold in our trailer, but the community well that was being tested was never tested for nematodes. So I sent our water to Mexico to get tested. And that's how I found out we had nematodes, which are physical worms, in our water. I then tested Seattle's, by the way, and it also has worms in their water. So, you get it from water, you get it from your pets who drink the water, right? And then they're licking their butts or eating other dogs and their own poop. And then you're like laying with them and licking them. I love pets. I had the same worms as my dog. I now know that, but you just got to deworm them. I mean, now that you have this information and you're armed with it, you can deworm your dog, you can deworm yourself, you can do specific things to find out, is this one of your root causes? Is this going to allow you to feel better? And I would say everyone that's taken our kit has felt better. out of the 4 years that we've been doing this, a chargeback is where someone returns it. We've only had 48 out of 300,000.
Wow.
That's where someone's like, this didn't work, or they complain, or something happens. We've had 48. I mean, that's huge.
Yeah.
So that means that someone, that we're taking these kits with these herbs, which that's what it's designed for. They're just herbs. I just formulated it from my own experience that you guys heard. So that's what's important about when you're listening to this. It's not fear mongering. You shouldn't be scared. You should be armed with this information. If I had this information 20 years ago before my hysterectomy, I would have never needed a hysterectomy. And so that's really my goal here is I had an unnecessary, life-changing, life-altering, I have no children. I went into menopause at age 29. I did chemo 2 times before that to help with the adhesions, and it never worked. It ruined my bones. Like, I have been in an uphill battle because this information was not available for me to fully understand. And I come from that world. So for me to come from that world and not have an understanding of it, I know that the general population in the world also feels the same and doesn't have that. And so if you have crazy symptoms like you're grinding your teeth at night, you're up all night long with insomnia and you don't know why because they're nocturnal creatures. At 7 p.m., you're starving and you're craving sugar. You have a parasite. There's just no way around it anymore. Like, there are so many symptoms that go away when you do your first parasite cleanse. And so with those symptoms, you got to look at, well, did the wormwood remove parasites? Yeah. And that was a symptom for you. You know what I'm saying? Like, so you start to look at, okay, well, I'm going to do this now. It makes me feel better. There's things in the herbs that will make you feel better. Heavy metal detox. We use cilantro. I had heavy metal poisoning. So like, all of these things are only going to help you and chip away at these chronic issues that no one can tell you. Your blood work doesn't show it unless they're doing it correctly, and they're doing it in the full moon, or they're looking at your EOS. Like, none of that is something that doctors are going to look at and go, you should do Parafy. I mean, more now because I'm so loud and I have a mission. I'm here for us to be educated on these environmental toxins. In 1909, hookworm was an issue and Rockefeller could not eradicate it. And so the whole Western medicine system was built upon hookworm, which is wild. I'm like in a wormhole right now. And so I'm going to do a series about it because it's wild to think that there are so many symptoms. And because of someone's ego, he couldn't eradicate something. And so he developed this whole synthetic system with petroleum in order for us to be able to eradicate something that is just a normal thing in the world. Like, it's normal for worms, right?
Yeah. Okay. So say you have somebody listening to this and they're like, okay, maybe I have some of the symptoms. We can get into some symptoms too later, but they're, you're saying a lot of us have it. I mean, it's funny because a lot of people will think, well, I don't eat sushi, so I don't have them, because they think that, I mean, that's what we've been told. Like, by the way, I've seen videos of sushi and salmon. I haven't had sushi in a long time, and it used to be one of my favorite things. So that's a loss. I had to grieve because it's so good, but I can't stomach it. Like, I think about the things that I've seen, and I am also working on my health. So like, adding in parasites is just not something that I want to do. But if somebody is listening and like, okay, I want to do a cleanse and I want to do Parafy. So talk us through, what does that look like? And what are some of the things they can expect going through this process? Because, just listening to your story, and you had a hysterectomy at 29, and like, look at how non-invasive, like something like Parafy is compared to, so let's start here. So what can we expect when we do it?
Okay, so here's what to expect. And then I also want to tell you guys about RogersHood, because I feel like that's really important for everyone to understand. We have a 14,000 square foot manufacturing facility where we soak our own herbs in it. We process our own tinctures. We are the distributor. We are the manufacturer. I did not want to hand this over to anybody. We've had 3 different manufacturing facilities that we built ourselves. So we started where we started in 175 square feet, and then we bought another facility. It was 2,400 square feet. All of it's custom. There's no facilities out there that have a room where you soak your herbs. I mean, we soak hundreds of pounds of herbs a month. So we're pulling all of that medicine out of the herb, and then we process it with a tea, because there's 2 different ways you can remove medicine from herbs. So I learned which herbs and which ways. And so we process our tinctures ourselves. We also make our own binder, which is called Cinnabon, which is really important to do when you're cleansing. Cinnabon is really great if you've been drinking and you want to sop that up at night, if you have food poisoning, if you have a bellyache, because charcoal is a binder. And binders are really important because these things drop toxins out while they're leaving. And so you got to bind that together. And charcoal is a negative herb that helps magnetize with positive toxins. So it's really important you bind. We also include instructions. So Parafy is 3 tinctures and a binder. You take it 3 times a day in tea, water, straight, or juice. You can take it before eating or after, and you do it for around 30 days. I give enough product for 45 days, so you could do a 30-day. Then you do 2 mini cleanses over a full moon, and then we recommend doing this 3 to 4 times a year. So you can do it that way. Some people do back-to-backs where they do 90 straight days with a 5-day in between. There's so many options. The purpose of the Parafy Kit is to really show you how to be your own advocate and have sovereignty over your own health, and just decide where you want to be with your health by not having someone tell you exactly what could or couldn't be wrong with you to gaslight you. I mean, honestly, if I had wormwood, black walnut hull, and Oregon grapefruit back in the day, I would be in a different place right now.
Yeah.
And so these herbs are really powerful. And I learned that. And so we created it. It's super easy to use. It's for ages 3 and up. We have a nut-free option, which we're one of the few out there that do parasite cleanses with the nut-free, and we ship worldwide. We are one of the only ones that ship worldwide. And I decided that the moment I started going viral, thinking I might start a business, right? I actually reached out to other companies, and they were like, yeah, we're not really in it right now. And I'm like, big mistake, huge, because we're ready. Like, the world and society is ready to have a kit handed to them that does parasites, candida, heavy metals, and a binder with instructions. I give free ebooks, so you can actually go to my website and download all my ebooks for free. I don't charge for my knowledge. I don't charge for my ebooks. And so it's really important for the general population to understand we should be doing this 3 to 4 times a year. And when you start doing it, you start to feel better and you want to keep doing it. You don't want to stop because you are like, I have not felt this good. Like, is this really what you're supposed to feel like in life? Like, we've all just normalized feeling like trash every day. And so when you start to feel good, you're like, that's it. I want to keep going on this path. And then you chip away at it. You don't want to do it all at once. That's when it's overwhelming, right?
Yeah.
So I made it very easy. It's literally, I'll show you. It's so easy. This is what it looks like. It's that easy. You just take these 3 tinctures and the Cinnabon at night. And I give you instructions. Like, that's Western medicine in me.
Yeah. Is there anything else to it? Because that is so simple. Is there anything else that they need to do alongside it? And is there possible any symptoms that you might feel that are unpleasant while you're going through it? Or is it just like you just start to feel better? And do you literally, like, I don't know, everyone's different,
Yes.
but do people see things in the toilet?
Yes. So you do have some things like die-offs, which we try and mitigate with the herbs that we chose and that binder. That's really why you do those extra steps. And I added extra herbs in as support herbs to help with die-offs. Die-offs are things like headaches, skin breakouts. You might have diarrhea. It's not like you have to stay home, though, while you're doing it. You might have some constipation with the binder. So we say pause that if you do. You know, we're really here and we're really holding your hands. I have 45 employees that help answer emails and DMs and comments for us as a community. So we're here, we're holding your hand along the way as well. But you're going to have some things are dying off inside of you. And unfortunately, worms pee and poop in your body. And that's why you get headaches and you smell like ammonia. So you might have some smelliness, get some chlorophyll for that and take some chlorophyll while you're stinky. That's what I do. And so you can see things in the toilet as well. A lot of these things are microscopic. So things like a protozoa, which is a parasite like Giardia, D. fragilis, and crypto, those are microscopic. You can only see those under a microscope. But then you have things like roundworm, flatworm, tapeworms, whipworm, hookworm. And those you can see most of the time if you're digging. So there's three types of cleansers. There's the flushers, the lookers, and the diggers. And so you might not see anything unless you're a digger.
I'm not going to see anything.
It's
Oh my
really good
gosh.
for business though.
Yeah. Well,
I also have a 600-page parasite identification book. If you do see something in the toilet and you want to know what it is, it's free.
Oh,
You
that's
can go
awesome.
download that book. There's volume 1 and 2, and we're finishing up 3. I've gotten 30,000 pictures of worms over the last 4 years.
Oh my God. Okay, so if you're treating or preventatively or just doing your quarterly cleanse, the Parafite kit is going to be great for, you said, parasites, worms. Is there something else that covers, or do you
Candida
and the candida? Oh,
and
good.
heavy
And then
metals.
heavy metals too. And then
Mhm.
is there, you said, because you had said something there, the one for heavy metals is, what is that one called again?
Metal Flush, and it
Okay.
has cilantro. And then Metal Flush also has lungwort lichen, which is the biofilm herb that breaks it down. So that's why each one of them has its own thing in it, their own herbs, because each one of them has its own job. But the Metal Flush doesn't just break down the biofilm, it helps remove the heavy metals, which the heavy metals weight it down. So when I was cleansing, I was taking zeolite, and I like zeolite, it's good. And it was releasing those heavy metals that were holding the worms down. And I was seeing heavy metals inside of my fulvic soak, which I went viral over that because I had worms swim out of the bottom of my feet on video.
Wow.
From the fulvic soak that I had done. And so I just started to think, okay, well, I'm seeing all of these shiny things on the fulvic soak that are heavy metals, and then worms just came out. Do you think that means that the heavy metals weight down the worms and the biofilm? Like it's in there as the weight, like it's the anchor? So what do I need to do to break that? Like, what do I need to do to fix that? How do I move those heavy metals out? Boom. I'm like, oh, cilantro. We got to move the heavy metals out. We don't want to chelate you. We don't want to have you have major heavy metal die off. We want it to just be enough that they're like on alert. You're making your body inhospitable and they don't want to be in you no more. And so we need to do more than just get the low hanging fruit, though. We need to get in there and really get after them and let them know, because they're a frequency that's attached themselves to your nervous system and they're in your lymphatic system. They know, like, they literally can change your thoughts about food. That's why we crave sugar and salt, because that's them. That's what they feed on. There's a parasite called Toxoplasmosis gondii. It's the cat parasite that we're told to not scoop cat poop while you're pregnant, because in our minds, we think you can only get that when you're pregnant. Not true at all, actually. Any warm-blooded mammal can get Toxoplasmosis gondii. It's actually found in over 60% of the population in the world. And what it does is it rewires your brain for you to have zero fear and to have no like ambition, like you're totally like out there sleeping with people. And it's because the mouse or the rat that has toxo is sexually attracted to the cat's urine and goes and cuddles up with the cat because the toxo has said, I need to go to the next stage, which is an enzyme in the cat's gut. So the cat eats the mouse or the rat, then produces that enzyme, and then toxo still lives. It poops out, it's airborne, you catch it, and now all of a sudden you're out there riding a crotch rocket and you die because 100% of crotch rocket riders have toxo. People that are like fighters in Mexico, they go get injected with toxo so they can have the crap beat out of them without fear.
Okay, so the Parafite is going to help with that as
Yes.
well. Okay.
We're a full body cleanse.
Okay.
And then once you start to reset, you have a better understanding of one, what information you go to your doctor and say, listen, I'm doing this cleanse. They're probably gonna, depending on who you see, they're gonna be like, what? And this is what I felt while on it. And if you have a good doctor, they're gonna do exactly what I'm saying. They're gonna go through the process of elimination of, well, wormwood made you feel better. It's two things: parasites or mold. Now you've just broken it down even further, right? That is a root cause for you. And you can start chipping away at that root cause if you feel better. You could just have an overgrowth of candida. We all have yeast in our bodies. And when that yeast gets out of control, it's called candida and it's a parasite. Anything that feeds off a host is a parasite. So then heavy metals, like if all of a sudden you're looking down and you do a fulvic and you got some sparkling on top of that fulvic, you have some heavy metals that came out your pores. So you're just slowly removing things in your body that are causing a clog up, right? Your organs and your body are so overflowing with environmental toxins. Again, not fear mongering. It's just reality. It's just where we live now in the society that we live in. And the reason why our country is so sick is because we won't realize this. 1924, when I found out about this whole hookworm thing with the Rockefellers, this was a huge issue. No one would believe it, even seeing it. They would go to these fairs and they would show people they have hookworm. That's why they have an iron deficiency and they have anemia and they're slow and their skin is a wreck and they're distended. Their bellies are huge. They've got them coming out their skin. They've got rashes all over. You know, people are going to the fair and they're like, this is what you need to do. And they would see it with their own eyes and they would not believe it. And it's because they're a frequency alive in our body telling us, don't cleanse, don't do it. Nope, 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 you're fine. Nope, itchy butt is not from that. You just didn't clean well. Literally, they're an alive frequency, you know?
It's so interesting. You said the iron, it could affect the iron.
Mm-hmm.
So people who have low iron, this is something that they need to look into as well.
100%.
I mean, it's really interesting because you did mention our pets have worms, and obviously my pet's been dewormed. I've never had a doctor tell me to deworm, but I kiss my dog. So it's like,
you deworm them monthly?
I don't. Should I?
You should. Safeguard.
Okay.
You can get a powder, Amazon, $30 every month. Put it in their food. I'm not a vet, but that's what I would do if I had a pet again.
Oh my gosh. Month. Okay.
$30. It's a powder. It goes per size. It's fenbendazole. And so that's an anti-parasitic synthetic that a human can take, but they market that one particularly for dogs. It's menbendazole and fenbendazole in the world of synthetics that are anti-parasitics. And so I recommend the dogs every month. I mean, they're so susceptible. They really are. And they're not eating any anti-parasitic type of food, right? So the reason why you put pumpkin seeds on your salads is because it's an anti-parasitic. It'll mix around inside of your stomach acid. And if there is anything, it's possible they won't stay because you ate it with pumpkin seeds. That's why they put specific foods in other countries on other foods like raw produce. It's because they know that it could be contaminated. They did their best to clean the produce, but that doesn't mean that it's clean, right? Or in my case, I am cleaning it with worm water. So it might not have had worms, but now it does because I cleaned it with my worm water, you know? So you just don't know exactly how your food's being prepared. You never want to eat raw out in the real world.
Yeah.
I have a couple of different soaks that I use for produce. I don't eat sushi anymore. I don't eat fish anymore. And if I eat questionably, I take the Parafy kit right before I eat. I eat questionably, and then I take the Parafy kit right after I eat, because that means that they don't want to stay in me and they're not going to lay their eggs on the way out. The problem with parasites is that they can lay thousands of eggs a day. A tapeworm can lay up to 1 million eggs a day, and they have 46 uteruses in a segment that's the size of a piece of rice. Like, how do you combat that? How do you battle that? And they're attached. So a hookworm, I'm pretty fascinated by the hookworm. My mom has hookworm. I know she has hookworm. She's had iron infusions that didn't take. Why not? So I She does Parafy now. Her iron infusions take. I've put her on a couple antiparasitics with her doctor. Her iron infusions keep taking. But for a while, the expense of that iron infusion was a waste because it wasn't absorbing. Why wasn't it absorbing? A hookworm will line the side of your vein, and iron is heavy. So it will absorb the iron and keep that hookworm where it's at. You would never know it. You would never know you had hookworm when you have anemia. And 90% of people that have anemia, per multiple different experts and doctors in parasitology, say you have a hookworm. But because our country has been so indoctrinated, hilarious that Rockefeller did this the way he did it, because he's the one that tried to eradicate that and other worms. And so here he is like, oh, we'll take this. Okay, well, the same. Take this to see if you absorb that iron better and start to feel better. That connection in your brain, the way you think to your words, requires iron. So the South was deemed slow and dumb because of their iron deficiencies, because of hookworm. That was their root cause of why the South was deemed slow. And actually why they lost the Civil War. That's why they lost the Civil War, because in the 1800s, this wasn't even something that was on existence. So it really is pretty wild, the history of it. But after you start to cleanse and then you do an iron infusion, you should start to get color back. Like if you are pale and you have anemia, you will get your color back when you start to remove the issue, which in a lot of people's cases is actually hookworm.
Okay. So I mean, we could talk all day. I have to be respectful of your time, but I do want to ask you one more thing about, well, first of all, I didn't tell you this, but I'm using Parafy right now, and it's been about a week and a half. So I feel the only thing I've felt really side effects is I just feel a little bit better. So I haven't had any negative side effects, and I've had anemia my whole life. So I think I'm in the right spot, and I'm really excited about all of this. But for people who, and I know I have a close friend who's dealing with mold right now. You have something special in your line about mold. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, I want to touch on two things, and I have time.
Okay.
Just, as long as you have time, I have time.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, so let's touch on your anemia real quick, okay? So I recommend you do 2 to 3 Parafy kits, and if you have a functional doctor that you work with or you have the capabilities of getting menbendazole, Vermox, I recommend a 5-day course of Vermox. And then there's a company called Modwella, and they do IVs, or anyone that does outside of a hospital does iron infusions. Modwella is a traveling concierge service, and their iron is processed differently than a hospital. A hospital iron gives it to you in 4 hours, and you get very ill, so people don't like to do it. And they don't add in vitamin C, which attaches to the iron and allows your body to process it better. So there are certain things you can do when you have that iron deficiency. And Modwella, if you just go look at even their website and look at how they break down their iron infusions, Iron Plus is what it's called. Go look at exactly how they do it and then hand that to an IV therapist. That's how I recommend it. Do your cleanses, do a quickie. I call them quickies in between the herbs of a synthetic, and then go get your iron infusion and see how much better you feel. They're around $400. You just need probably 1 to 2 because your body needs to put that iron in a bucket. And what happens is when you get it all at once like that, you're going to have a full bucket of iron, and then it slowly, did you ever play the game Mousetrap when you were younger?
Yes.
Okay. It slowly drops it into your body. And if you have an actual, like anemia deficiency, it'll dump it all at once. And then you're just sick again, right?
Yeah.
But when you put it in your body and there's nothing holding it back, it will slowly give it to you. And that's the purpose of why you do vitamin C, you do antiparasitics, because it allows your body to actually absorb that iron. So you can take it all at once. You're like, I feel great. Well, yeah, you're going to feel fantastic. How long is that going to last with that expensive iron infusion? right? You can make it last as long as you need to by doing these repetitive things to help your anemia. No matter how much meat you eat, no matter how much iron you take, which makes you feel ill, you're never going to get better unless you find the root cause. And if you look in research, the root cause to anemia is a hookworm.
Mm,
1909. 1909 is when they discovered that the root cause to anemia is a hookworm. And
that's so
I was
crazy.
shook. Like, that's all I've done the last couple of days is just research. So that's crazy because you have anemia. And so this is a very good step for you to take towards that. Once you get your iron on board, the rest will follow suit. But what's the root, right?
Right.
That's your root. I mean, I'm not your medical doctor. I'm not a doctor, but I do know worms. I am an expert in that. And I do believe that anemia's root cause is hookworm. And researching it even more and digging down into the wormhole, it really is the problem. So, what was the next one? I forgot because I got really excited. I got to
No,
talk
that's
about the
good.
hookworm. It's new
um,
knowledge. You're the first one I've talked to about it.
I love it. I love it.
Mhm.
I mean, I know a lot of people who have anemia too, so this is really helpful. So I wanted to ask about mold.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So here's what I recommend with mold. I have 11 different active molds in my body. So I'm in a constant, okay, is it my Lyme? Is it mold? Like, what am I doing to help with that? First off, if you have mold, do your best to get out. Don't stress about it though. You never want to use bleach. You only want to use peroxide and vinegar to clean. Throw the bleach away. You do not want bleach in your house, like ever. Bleach actually makes the spores angry, and then you'll have so many more spores. Okay. HBOT, hyperbaric chamber oxygen therapy, is also going to be your best friend. It snuffs it out. It snuffs out the colonization in your body. That's the first and foremost important thing to do, is to stop it colonizing in your body. When you see it on the wall, that's what it looks like in your body, and it grows and
Mm.
it chunks off, and it's like a needle. It'll attach itself onto your nervous system, in your lymphatic system, clogging it up. Like, think about a car when you use really bad gas and all of a sudden your alternator goes out because it's all clogged up with everything. That's what mold's doing in your body. It actually lives within the good cholesterol. And so there's a lot of things like flaxseed. That's what's in moldies. That's our mold kit, is flaxseed breaks it down. Fennel moves it out. Nettle kills it. So there's a lot of different herbs that go in and systematically help move it out. But I recommend doing 2 to 3 Parafy kits before. And here's why.
Oh, okay.
You want to remove the parasites first. Parasites hold on to spores. So you need to remove a root cause of why the spores continue to colonize. The thing is about Parafy is, if you already know you have wormwood, or if you already have mold and you know it, you can use the wormwood. Okay. If you suspect it, use the wormwood. What wormwood is doing in the Parafy tincture is it's suppressing the mold from continuing to colonize in your body, and it's boosting your immune system up to the point where the mold spores will pause, but it's not killing the mold spores. You have to come in with nettle to kill those mold spores. You have to go in with flaxseed to help remove them from the sticky cholesterol that's in your body. So if you have high cholesterol and you have no idea why, you should do a mold cleanse, because
Wow.
guarantee you have some sort of mold in your body that's colonizing, causing your cholesterol to go up. I ate so good and my cholesterol was like as if I was eating oil directly. You know what I'm saying? So I recommend 2 to 3 Parafy kits, incorporating NAD. NAD will help push the spores out of your cells and boost your mitochondria. And then once you're done with the Parafy kits, you can do them 90 days straight. Start with the Moldies kit. Start it once a day. It's really intense because of the fact that it's a mental cleanse. Mold is so mental. There's called mold rage. So if all of a sudden you're screaming for no reason, you don't want to leave your house, that's called a mold hold. You have mold brain. Like, all of these factors from this fungus, right, is causing your body to react because it doesn't know what's going on. It doesn't like trigger, like we're a code, it doesn't recognize that code. So
Mm.
you have to make it recognize that code by getting rid of it. And then all of a sudden your body comes back online. And so that's what I have done. I did it for a year. All of the herbs I chose in the Moldies kit was because I had to randomly go, again, just like the parasite cleanse, I had to go find companies. And I'm like, well, okay, so am I going to make flaxseed, and then I'm going to Shazandra berry, and then okay, and then I got to come over here with sunflower lectin, and then I mean, I was in it like $500. Like for everything the doctors told me to go start taking, I'm like, first off, I don't have this kind of money. And secondly, how am I going to talk about it with people? They're not going to have this kind of money. And then some of them were prescriptions from full scripts. I mean, it was a whole thing when I found out I had mold. And I had two different types of cleanses from two different types of doctors. It was very confusing, just like parasite cleansing. And so I just buckled down and I started researching. The wormwood made me feel great. So the whole year I was parasite cleansing, I was suppressing the mold, I was living in it. And so a lot of mold people and functional doctors don't want you to do a mold cleanse while living in the mold because most people don't know they're living in the mold.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know I was living in the mold. I suppressed the mold. Then all of a sudden I got off the Parafy kit and my eyes swelled shut and I lost half my hair. And it took me like a couple of months to figure it out, the Epstein-Barr and the mold poisoning, and I had multiple different HSVs get attacked. There was so many things, and it was because the wormwood suppressed it for so many months, but it allowed me to get my brain back and to feel somewhat normal again in order for me to take action.
Yeah.
That's how I explain why you also should do the Parafy cleanse first. It helps push some of that out, reset your body, really calm your immune system down. Then you start attacking mold. And the Moldies kit, do it once, do it twice a day. Like you have to go at your own pace. Pause when you need to, bind when you can. There's so many things that this teaches you how to take that sovereignty over your own health. That's why it's so important when I say those words, because you really are learning about your body. This is your temple. This is all we get.
Yeah.
And so we need to know as humans how to take care of that, even if we've all been indoctrinated and we've been told that this isn't the right way. This is how our ancestors did it. This is how we should be doing it. And we should bridge Western medicine with it. I've used Western medicine in so many ways over the last 4 years of doing this that it's still important for me to have that attachment, but also important for me to know that there are things that I can try alternatively before cold plunging, sauna. Sauna is going to be great. Red light and methylene blue. When you do methylene blue periodically throughout the week, and then you do red light every day and you listen to frequencies, there's a app called Z-app. It's free. And you can type in all the different worms and all the different molds, and it has a frequency and it helps shatter that frequency inside of your body. So I listen to frequencies every night. I listen to subliminal messages at night to rewire my brain, because the subconscious is really what you bring forth with the consciousness. And so I listen to frequencies. I've listened to frequencies for over 7 years. I had a mini stroke in the midst of all of this in 21, and I brought myself back online from listening to frequencies and subliminal messages. Then when I found out I had mold poisoning, my husband and I did a lot of frequencies. We did a lot of red light. We did a lot of cleansing for mold, and it really changed who we were in so many ways than just our health. But you can watch, also you guys can watch me. I've recorded myself every day since 2019.
Oh my gosh, this is so amazing. I mean, this is so great for people who are dealing with mold and feel very overwhelmed. It also
Yeah.
sounds like more cost effective too.
Mhm.
Because I know, especially if you're going down a road where you've been kind of stuck in Western medicine and you kind of switch to more alternative or functional, there is a bigger price tag that goes along with that.
Mhm.
But if we can do it, if we can save some money, that is really huge for people. I'd love if you could share, like, I know a lot of people are going to want to try this and they're going to want to be a part of the Parafy cleanse. I feel like that's just a good foundation. If you could tell everybody where to find that. And then also, you've been online, you talk about this so much, where we can find you to listen to more education about all this.
My website is RogersHood.com. and you can go straight there, and then everything's on that website. But you can find me. It's Mrs. RogersHood. That's MRSRogersHood. You could also type in Kim Rogers, the Worm Queen, anywhere on Google. You can Google me. I'm everywhere. My TikTok is Mrs. Rogers Hood. My Instagram is Mrs. Rogers.hood. Someone actually has Mrs. Rogers Hood, and I feel for them. I'm sure her DMs get flooded with worms. And then my podcast is What's Eating You with the letter U, and it's on YouTube and all streaming platforms. I do long form about all of this and what my experiences have been over the last year and a half. I've had some health challenges still. And so I share all of that information and what I've done and the things that I've gone through so that you can watch it and see if that's something that's good for you. I give the best and the worst of it all. I've done TPE for my Lyme and mold. My husband did it too. It was good. There's a couple of things that I've done that I would do differently. I wouldn't do 3 therapeutic plasma exchanges where they pull the plasma out, spin it down, and then put albumin to make new plasma in your body.
Mm-hmm.
It was tough. There are some things that I've done where, you can watch it and you're like, oh, but I show it. I want people to understand that there's things out there and not to be afraid of them. And it's just really a helpful guide, really. I mean, everything I do is to educate. I was a professor for over 5 years, and I had to leave my favorite position because of my health. And so I use these platforms to educate people around me for free.
Well, I loved having you. I would love to have you back because I feel like
Yes.
there's still so much to cover, but this is such great information. It's so helpful. So good to meet you. And
So good.
please come back.
I would love to.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode. Please subscribe and review so we can reach more people who want to learn to glow alongside us. See you next time.